everyone. Thank you for tuning into the JPI's fundraising live stream. This is a quick reminder for you to go and click the link in our description box below and donate to our COVID-19 crowdfunding campaign in association with Give India, Uplift, and the Ujala Foundation. Welcome to College Roundtable, Rhode Island School of Design, and California Institute of Arts edition. Today we have with us 5 JPS alumni from 2 of the most prestigious art colleges in the United States. We have with us incoming freshmen Shivangi Chopra at CalArts, Sejal Gupta and Khushi Goyal at RISD. From RISD also have Midika Shah, a first-year student, and Nishtananda, a second-year student. Let's get straight into our questions.
What is your major and how did you decide that it was something that you wanted to do further, like maybe as a career?
My major is in industrial design. The idea of integrating form, fit, and function is really interesting for me. I would also love to design a product which makes people's lives better. So, when I went for the RISD pre-college program, I took industrial design as a major. By that time, I was really sure that I want to pursue this major further.
So I applied everywhere for graphic design. And to be honest, I wasn't really certain if I wanted to do this as a career. Like I realized in 11th grade, which was fairly late. And like in retrospect, I feel like I could have invested more time if I made up my mind earlier. And yeah, it just started when I made the school mascot. And after that, I just kind of threw myself in digital art because I found it pretty interesting. And yeah, on my journey with graphic design, I realized that it's a pretty broad subject as well. So I had the freedom to explore a lot in a single field, and I just decided to go with it.
So initially, I applied to RISD as an industrial design major. But then after doing industrial design in the winter session, I discovered that it wasn't for me. And I changed my major to painting. Now I'm sort of battling between doing just painting and furniture design double major. So let's see how that goes because you need to declare it in the middle of your sophomore year. So I still have 6 more months.
So I applied to RISD like undecided, but after like the first year, I decided to go into graphic design. So that's what I'm doing right now. And I think that like graphic design as like a major, since like technology is pretty much like relevant in today's time, it's like graphic design has a lot of potential, and I enjoy like kind of integrating like 3D things with digital things and like making something more different than just like digital work.
I'm still not sure myself about which major I want to pursue, so I'm a bit confused between painting and illustration. And so now I'm going to go there and see after the first year which one I choose. But I think I'm more inclined towards painting personally because it's something I've always enjoyed since like the beginning of 9th grade, and I've explored that the most till now. So I think for now, that's what I'm most confident about.
I think it's crazy how diverse your group is. So let's just move to the individual questions. So the first question is for you, Shivangi. You got into both RISD and CalArts. So the question is, how did you decide on what college you actually wanted to go to? How did you decide which was your best fit? And moreover, what factors do you think students should consider when they're choosing a college for themselves?
Okay, so both CalArts and RISD are amazing schools. Like they're literally the best art schools in USA. And so naturally, it was like a very difficult decision for me to make. Like prior to my decision, I took advice from students who were already there, like Nishtha here, and my counselors, of course. And to be honest, RISD was always my first choice. Like it had been since a really long time. But like my decision boiled down to like the scholarships that CalArts had to offer. Like it's really important to note that art schools tend to be very expensive. So my advice would be like to focus on financial aid or grants or scholarships or anything that you can get at an early stage. So like once the financial burden is cleared from your checklist, you can focus on other aspects easily. Otherwise, I think your choices should be prioritized by your major. Like for me, both RISD and CalArts are pretty much known for their digital art programs. So naturally, they became my top choices. Because I feel like it's really essential for your college of preference to be good at your intended major and like even your possibly even your secondary major. So anytime that you feel like you want to switch between the two, you shouldn't have a lot of difficulties. And then also taking into consideration like portfolio requirements for wherever you want to apply. Like some colleges have a specific requirement, like RISD has the RISD challenge, which changes every single year. So like for this, you have to create an artwork which is solely based on the prompt that you're given. So I feel like you can only have a strong portfolio when you're working properly for each one of these, and when you've researched your requirements properly. And yeah, I think finally it's like really important to research beyond your undergrad also. Like generally, if your college of preference has a good reputation, it's very likely that you'll find good opportunities there as well. But like still, this research should be a major part of your decision making.
Makes a lot of sense. The
Yeah.
next question, Divyani.
So my next question is from Vidrika D. So how was the experience with your first year being online? Were there any, particular challenges that you faced or anything that you didn't like about it being online? And do you think it would have been better if you maybe took like a deferral or a gap year instead of, doing it online?
So RISD actually just offers gap years. You can't defer a semester. But I got lucky because I had 2 semesters online and 1 in person. So I sort of got an experience of both. But in my experience, I would say that, like RISD has 3 studio courses and 2 liberal art courses. So when you do studio online, it can be a little tricky. But what RISD has done to make it easier is that generally you have like 3 days of the week, you have 1 day studio, like 1 day each studio, and then 2 days liberals. What they've done now is that you do 1 studio for the entire month. So like 3 days of the week, you do the same studio, and then you do 2 days liberal. So you have a good flow in that sense. And also I feel like when it comes to something like design or spatial dynamics, you can still do it online. Like it's not such a big of a task. But when it comes to drawing studio, it's sort of a task because what you do over here is observational work, and that is 3-dimensional to 2-dimensional. But when you do it online, it becomes 3-dimensional to 2-dimensional, which is on your screen, and then you do 2D to 2D work, which is on your sheet. So then there's sort of like another aspect added to it, which makes it a little tricky. But like I feel like we just have to learn to work around it. Also, like when you're in studio, your professor can easily pick up your like piece of charcoal or brush and just do it over the sheet and tell you that this is how you're supposed to do it. But when you're alone at your house, you have to figure it out on your own. So I feel like that's a great learning experience. Like if I were to go back and change anything, I wouldn't. Like I would do it online.
So my question is for Khushidi. Since you were deferred, how did you make the most out of this time?
Deferring last year was, I guess, one of the best decisions I ever made. I made the most out of my time by setting targets, and I made a list of things that I wanted to learn. I started my year by taking a 5-week design thinking course at my dream company called IDEO. It wasn't just a normal theoretical course. It involved me observing, interviewing, and brainstorming with people from around the world on a Zoom call. So it was a really different experience for me. I learned a 3D software known as Dino and a rendering software called Keyshot. This took a lot of time, but when I first made my product, the happiness and the satisfaction was really worth the time. I also brushed my hand on Adobe applications and practiced figure drawing and perspective sketching. Finally, when the COVID situation got better, for 5-6 months, I went to a factory and worked with a startup. There, I was designing, I was solving production problems, looking at products' functionality, packaging, costing as well, studying and buying the raw materials myself, and learning about the mass production machines. This experience really allowed me to explore and immerse myself into a culture that was so different from school life. Then my father introduced me to stock market and I seemed to love it. So I spent a lot of time building up a portfolio with my dad and learning how to invest. Other than that, I got a kit known as Makers, where we had to make our own digital devices such as intrusion detectors, heartbeat sensors, and robots. So I used Arduino's microprocessor, sensors, and responders to make circuits and then code the program by myself. This really widened my career possibilities because now I'm so excited that I'll get to integrate design with technology and science. And I hope I create like innovative products at RISD. As far as my extracurriculars, like they have always kept me on my toes. And throughout the time, I was learning new dance styles and I picked up on a new hobby, which is guitar. I also read some books and played badminton, table tennis, and basketball with my family at home. I spent a lot of time on my health and well-being. Like I used to go for cycling, and then I also did yoga, which ended with a 15 to 20-minute pranayam session. And all of these activities really define my personality, and they bring a really, really positive impact to my life. And apart from everything, the most precious time was the one that I spent with my family, and I made a lifetime of memories with them. In the end, I believe that if any student really needs time to prep for their portfolio, I think this is a great opportunity. As you can see, I think I really utilized my time well because you just won't be doing art all the time. You'll be gaining like valuable lifetime skills and experiences. But like it's really important to be self like driven throughout the time and be really disciplined towards your target and in order to make the year very fruitful. Thank you so much, and whoever is watching, please donate to this noble cause. Thank you.
Thank you, Khushi, for a great answer. I think you all can take inspiration from what all you've heard. She's done plenty of things, so just make sure that you make the best of your time. That's really precious. The next question that I have is for Sejal. It's kind of similar. So this time that you have free on your hands, how are you using it before graduation and before going to college? And is there anything that you wish you would have done differently in your school life, which maybe would have been beneficial now?
Right. So I think for me, like boards getting cancelled and school getting over, it was all very sudden. And like before I knew it, I was back home from the hostel. And that was definitely a very dynamic shift in my schedule because the last 1 year has been sort of like a very slow but sure walk towards the ultimate goal of giving boards. So, like, basically everything that we were doing, every class, every activity, it was all to make sure that we were well prepared for them. So, I think in all of that, I personally, I think I lost touch with what art meant to me. So, because whenever I was actually painting in the last year, especially, it was either for my IB studio work or for my portfolio. So, it all really came across as work, and I wasn't really, painting for myself. So, and I was actually like limiting myself. I loved it, but I was still limiting myself to like a certain theme or topic at times. So I think this time has been great for like taking out my canvases and being able to paint for my own self, different topics from like painting a strawberry to like, I don't know, painting sceneries. It's been a great experience. It's also good practice for college, definitely. And I think this also sort of answers the second part of your question because I feel like I wish I hadn't treated art merely as a subject in the last year and had continued to like see it as a hobby as well and like paint for my own self, paint, how like it meant to me earlier and how it made me happy. I think I sort of lost that along the way. Otherwise, I'm also learning Procreate in like digital art because I always saw myself as someone who's more comfortable with a paintbrush rather than like an Apple Pencil, for example. So I've always sort of like stayed away from that. But in the last 2 weeks, I've made sure that I'm like sketching all the time on my iPad. And it's actually been like a lot of fun. It's made me like sort of rethink my major a bit. And like, so yeah, but it's a great experience. I wish I had like started earlier, but still, I'm just happy that I did. And aside from that, so a while back, I'd actually had a conversation with Mitrika Di, wherein she told me that if I do come to this day, I should make sure that I know like a little bit of programming, coding. And I think for me, for someone who probably has like the least analytical brain for miles, this really just stuck with me. And it was like a fear because I was pretty sure I wouldn't be good at it. But the last 2 weeks, again, I've started learning a bit of programming from a friend, and it's difficult, but I think I'm like getting there slowly, and it's been good. And I think I'm taking like this time to just rekindle some old hobbies. I like reading a lot, so I've been reading. I love cooking, so I've been doing that, exercising whenever I can. So I think I'm just like giving myself some time to relax, but at the same time making sure I'm like prepared for college in the best way possible.
I think that's a great answer, and I think a lot of people relate with the coding scene. I don't think I'm analytical for miles at all, so that's just fine. That's something we all can work on. To the next question.
Yeah, and everything you said, like, you're trying to keep up with your hobbies. That's like great. Nobody should lose that positive touch. So yeah, our next question is for Nishtadi. So since you've been in RISD for like 2 years, which is a lot of time, so what do you think like a normal day looks like at RISD for a student? And how has it helped you, particularly find, your niche or style there?
Yeah, so I think like RISD, as a lot of people know, is like a very like rigorous college, and you don't have a lot of free time here. So like most of the times it's like we have 6 to 7 hours of studio every day, regardless of like your major, and then probably like double those hours that they expect you to like put into like each studio's homework. So I guess like it's hard to like every day would probably be like go really fast. Like I think I don't even remember, like I just came to college and now it's like almost the semester's over, because every day goes by like really fast. So, and I'm like, since I'm mostly doing like graphic design classes, a lot of my classes are online on Zoom this semester. So that's why this semester has been a little different to how my days are going. They're more like online, but I'm also like a teacher assistant for like freshman year classes. So that's like my in-person experience, which I'm like balancing out with. And yeah, like I think like for RISD students, it's like hard to find that balance between like doing stuff that you enjoy, like socializing and stuff, but also like getting done with all your homework. It's like a tough balance. But I think like first year really helped me in like time management. So now this second year has been much more easier for me in terms of like how much time I should be like dedicating on my homework, but also like sleeping and eating and all that. But yeah, I think like in terms of the way it's shaped me, because RISD has such a small like class size and so many hours that you spend with those few people, and most of the times like you have the same people in your sections, so you end up like making like really close connections and like working like on one-on-one basis with like artists, that I think that my art style kind of went more from like making like personal work about myself to more like communal work, because I was spending so much time with people and like talking about like where they're from, their culture, what they go through, blah blah. So like I think in that way like my art style also started shifting from like just talking about myself, which I guess we did mostly in school, in our portfolios, like we all were just talking about ourselves, to like actually talking about like I don't know, like social issues or just like issues that you cared about, or just things that you think like you can, like I can use my art to like talk about. So yeah, I think that RISD's really helped me in that, and all the professors here are like really, I don't know, they push you a lot to talk about things that people don't usually talk about. Yeah.
I can say for everybody here that I think everyone who's seen the project that you did with the pads and whatnot, like that's been one of the most inspirational things that I've ever seen, and I absolutely fell in love with that. So yeah, that's a great answer, of course. Before moving on to the rapid fire, one last question for all of you to answer is, just give two pieces of advice for every college going student, like every high schooler who's going to enter college, especially students like us who are struggling a lot apparently because of online school. What are the two pieces of advice you would give to us that could help us maybe through our journey right now or in college? Anything that you feel. I think we can start with Khushidi.
I think that portfolio is the key, and I think you should really nail your college essay. And also, if you don't have like a lot of extracurriculars, then I think build like a good set of extracurriculars. And yeah, I think that RISD also is a bit academic, so like I think you should be at least like you should be scoring average marks at least. Yeah.
Yeah, I think on the same lines, it's about finding that balance between your extracurriculars and your academics, making sure that like you don't devote like I don't know your time to like one of them mostly and then sort of neglect the other, because I feel like we do end up doing that once in the flow. So I think it's necessary that you find the balance, of course. And again, your portfolio, because I mean that's how your college is judging you by your work. So make sure, and I think that a lot of times we sort of don't pay attention to the conceptual value behind an artwork. So I think that's very important. So even if your skills aren't very good, but you made sure that you have like a very strong foundation when it's coming to the idea, I think that artwork can be great and it really adds on to your portfolio and how you're presenting your work.
I would say that on the same lines, like I think a lot of us while making our portfolios were like concentrating a lot on like skill. But I guess after coming here, I've realized that like concept is in a way more important than like skill is. You can do like the simplest thing, but have like a mind-blowing idea to it and like they'll accept it. And also like having like a range of trying to have like a range of like mediums in your portfolio, like not just sticking to your comfort zone, but like doing like things that you've always wanted to try, like not just sticking to like conventional mediums, but like trying to be as like unique with like materials that you're using or like things that you're making as possible.
No, I would like second that because I feel like you should always do something where you lose yourself. Like when you're building your portfolio, just go all out. Like whatever you want to try, just go for it and try to be like I as open to ideas as possible. And my second piece of advice would be don't lose yourself like while applying to college. Don't get swayed away by other people's decisions, because sometimes like personally people were like, Providence is a really small town, you shouldn't go there, you wouldn't enjoy. But at the end of the day, what matters is what you want to do. So just try to stay focused on that and don't get swayed away by other people's opinions.
Yeah, on the same lines, I think that your portfolio is the most important part of your application. Like, I feel like you should experiment a lot, like, not only with the concept and the techniques, but like also with your majors. Like I said, I wasn't very experienced with digital art when I applied. So, like, most of my portfolio was like the traditional ways of art and then some animation and some graphic design. So you should show like a lot of variation in your work. And also I think like art schools generally don't focus a lot on academics, but like my advice would be that you should still have like really strong scores, and of course your activity list is really important as well.
Thank you, guys. I think we'll move on to the more fun rapid fire round. Disclaimer for everybody: these guys don't know the questions, so yeah, it's all going to come from Harsh, Priyanshu.
So the first question, who's your favorite artist?
Gustave Courbet.
I think it's Christina Trufa.
Jessica Walsh.
Mark Quinn.
Frida Kahlo, probably.
What does RISD mean to you in one sentence?
It's my world.
It's been my dream for the longest time.
It's like where I gained my voice, probably.
It's hectic yet peaceful.
It was my dream school, but I'm not really going there.
You could tell us what like CalArt means to you in like one sentence then.
I think CalArts, I think it's where I'd like to explore myself properly.
What is that one class you're always excited for in college?
I think my major industrial design.
I haven't been to college yet, so I don't really know. I'll see.
Probably like typography within graphic design.
Drawing studio.
I haven't really been to college either.
I think you can tell school ka favorite class or just some class that you're excited about.
I think I've always been really excited about VA, so that would be my favorite subject.
If your personality was a color, what would it be?
Red.
Purple.
Yellow, definitely.
Probably like teal, like bluish.
Ritvika?
Purple.
I think I'd be a white.
Okay, I think we're done with the rapid fires. Is there anything else that you guys would want to share? I'm pretty sure Nishtari and Ritvika have good stories from RISD. Any personal story that maybe you would want our viewers to know? You can go ahead and tell us something.
One thing to make sure is like your speed, because I found that I've been doing artworks like that I used to do in school in like three months in like a week over here. Like I think last month I showed Nishtha some artwork and she's like, did you spend 1 month on this? Like, was this your entire studio? And I was like, I spent a week on it. So like your speed has to be so fast when you come here. Like you're gonna be surprised by the work you do.
Nishtari, do you have anything to tell us?
Yeah, I think like on a similar note, like once I came to RISD, I think I was like so used to doing like really perfect work in school because we were so used to like refined work and details and stuff. And then I had to like eventually let go of that because you don't have enough time for it. And like I said, like here ideas are so much more important than skill, that like this is not a space where like you need to get like the skin tone perfect or like everything perfect, but like you just need to have like a nice like idea to it. Yeah, and I think I learned that the hard way after a few all-nighters, that like it doesn't really matter that much.
It does not, because like my drawing professor made me smudge an entire perfectly done drawing because he's like, you're stuck to the notion of perfection. You need to get out of this. Like I had to take a cloth and like rub it all over. So yeah.
Okay, that sounds great. I think there's too much talent in this room to keep going for too long. So I think we'll end it here. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Thank you so much, Nishtari and Mritikari. You guys are busy with RISD and whatnot. I think everyone's gotten a hang of how busy you are. So thank you so much for taking out the time. Thank you so much, Sejal, Shivangi, and Kushidi. Thank you so much. And a quick reminder for everybody to donate from the link in our description box. We're trying to help other people during these pressing times in India. So if you could do your bit and just help out by donating, or maybe just sharing, or just joining the live stream and getting valuable information like this for yourself. Do whatever seems best to you, do whatever seems the perfect thing to do during these times. I hope you had a good time with all of these talented people. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye.
Thank you.